Moving on, as Russia and Ukraine continue to trade fire, Russian forces have unleashed a new weapon. Ukraine's military says the upgraded Shahid drone are now a dual-threat predator, stalking both the skies and land. This comes at a time that Kyiv fears a new massive assault on Sumy region.
The sky over Ukraine is a kill zone, as Russia unleashes a terrifying new evolution in drone warfare. From the high-altitude hunt to the desperate trenches of Sumy, the firestorm is intensifying at a breathless pace. Explosions rock across Ukraine as a swarm of Russian Shahids tears through the night. But these aren't the slow drones anymore. Moscow has upgraded them. The new Shahid is a hybrid beast, engineered to strike aerial interceptors and ground targets simultaneously. It's a multi-domain killer, turning the sky into a 360-degree shooting zone. That's not all. There's a new danger for Ukraine. Ukraine's military intelligence warns that the Kremlin is positioning a massive iron fist for a fresh offensive. The target is Sumy. After the brutal fall of Vovchansk, fears are mounting that Sumy could be the next domino to fall. Russian forces are massing to shatter the Ukrainian shield. Moscow claims that Kyiv has suffered a staggering 1,330 casualties in just 24 hours. Zelensky claims that Russian losses on the battlefield in Ukraine are up to at least 1,000 soldiers a day. The actual number of casualties remain hidden in the fog of war. Ukrainians are sheltering in emergency heating tents in Kyiv after Russian strikes damaged critical infrastructure, leaving homes without power, heat and water.
If you count it, we've already had no electricity, heating or water for 42 hours. Nothing at all. We're surviving. You can see how.
The conditions are difficult. Honestly, what saves us is optimism, and my grandmother's scarf that survived the Second World War. You put it on, wrap yourself in it, remember how our people endured, and we will endure too. We have no right to give up.
Artillery duels rage. Drone swarms multiply. The front lines of Ukraine churn with constant violence. Kyiv too is hitting back hard. Ukraine has attacked 3 Russian oil drilling platforms in the Caspian Sea. With peace talks going nowhere, the war is only intensifying as Russia and Ukraine both continue to exchange heavy fire. Bureau Report, WION. World is one.
Shifting our focus now to West Bank, where Bedouin families in the occupied West Bank are being forced to leave their homes after continued harassment by Israeli right-wing settlers. In the community of Ras in al-Oja, near Jericho, families have begun packing up their belongings after what they describe as non-stop pressure and intimidation.
We have lived here since 1991, about 30 years. Due to harassment from settlers, we are now demolishing the sheep pens. We have moved the sheep to Hebron, and we are gathering our belongings to join the sheep in Hebron.
The United Nations says that more than 3,200 Palestinians from dozens of Bedouin and herding communities have been displaced by settler violence, as well as movement restrictions since October 2023.
The settlers completely destroyed the Bedouin way of life, obliterated the culture and identity, and used every method to change the Bedouin way of life in general with the complete destruction of life.
Now, even though this war in Gaza has ended, violence has surged across the West Bank. Palestinian officials say more than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed in the territory since the war in Gaza, while Israel says 44 Israelis, including soldiers, have died in the Palestinian attacks.
What is happening today is the complete collapse of the community as a result of the settlers' continuous and repeated attacks, day and night, for the past 2 years. You could say that half the community has collapsed. About 50 families have begun dismantling their homes in order to leave. 20 families from the Kaabna clan left on January 8th.
You can't defend yourself because if you do, you become a criminal. If you defend your home, the Israeli police or army will come and arrest you. We can't do anything. You can't even touch a settler. If you do, they'll say you attacked them, and they'll call the police and army, who will handcuff you and take you away. Honestly, life is extremely difficult.
Over 24 families from one of the few remaining Palestinian Bedouin villages in the West Bank's Jordan Valley have packed up and fled their homes in recent days, saying that harassment by Israeli settlers living in unauthorized outposts nearby has grown unbearable. The area is part of Area C, which is 60% of West Bank that has remained under full Israeli control. Under the Oslo Peace Accords signed in the 1990s since the war in Gaza, at least 44 entire communities have reportedly been expelled by settler violence in the West Bank area. The turning point for the village came in December when settlers put up an outpost about 50 meters from Palestinian residences on the northwestern flank of the village. Settlers strolled easily through the village at night. Sheep and laundry went missing, and international activists had to begin escorting children to school just to keep them safe. The residents said that they call the police frequently to ask for help, but it rarely arrives. Remember, settlement expansion has been promoted by successive Israeli governments over nearly 6 decades. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's far-right government, which has placed settler leaders in senior positions, has made it a top priority. That has been accompanied by a spike in settler violence, much of it carried out by residents of outposts that are illegal even under Israeli law. As per United Nations, this trend is changing the map of the West Bank, entrenching Israeli presence in the occupied area. Remember, Israel captured the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip in the 1967 Six-Day War. Some 500,000 Israelis have settled in the West Bank, and the international community largely considers their presence illegal. The Palestinians seek all 3 areas for a future state. West Asia is standing at the edge of a breaking moment. Black body bags outside a Tehran morgue, gunfire against unarmed protesters, and from Washington, a warning that could drag an entire region into war. As Iran bleeds on its streets, Donald Trump signals D-Day. Tehran threatens Israel and the region holds its breath as it teeters towards a total war. Donald Trump has issued his sharpest warning yet to Iran, saying that he may be forced to act militarily if Tehran continues its deadly crackdown on the protesters.
There seem to be some people killed that aren't supposed to be killed. These are violent, if you call them leaders, I don't know if they're leaders or just they rule through violence. But we're looking at it very seriously. The military is looking at it. And we're looking at some very strong options. We'll make a determination.
Donald Trump has claimed that Iranian leaders have reached out seeking talks. He said that the leaders of Iran called and a meeting is being set up. But he's also added a grim caveat that the United States may have to act before any talks take place. For nearly 2 weeks now, Iran has been consumed by its most serious uprising in years. What began as protests over soaring prices and economic misery has now evolved into a full-blown challenge to the Islamic Republic itself. The theocratic system is in place since the 1979 revolution. But despite a near total internet shutdown, videos have emerged from Tehran and other cities showing thousands defying security forces, chanting against the regime and calling for systemic change. Now, amid this, pro-government rallies are also rising as authorities seek to show strength against the anti-Khamenei demonstrations. President Masoud Pezeshkian was seen leading one such rally. Pro-government marches, remember, are seen as the government's push to curb the growing dissent. A nationwide pro-government rally was called following a violent crackdown on the protesters on the weekend. The Khamenei regime has accused the United States and Israel of fomenting trouble. Amid this chaos, the figure of Iran's ousted monarchy has re-entered the spotlight. Reza Pahlavi, the US-based son of the last Shah of Iran, has publicly offered to return and lead a democratic transition.
Do not abandon the streets. My heart is with you. I know that I will soon be by your side.
In interviews and social media posts, he's called on security forces and state employees to defect, warning them that they face a choice to stand with the people or be complicit in their killing. Tehran is responding with defiance and with threats that risk igniting a regional war. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, said that both United States and Israel will be considered targets if Washington launches a military target.
تروریستی از داخل شروع شد و این
Now, adding fuel to fire, Turkey's foreign minister has claimed that Mossad is fanning these protests. Iran says it has arrested Mossad agents. With Israel's rhetoric and Netanyahu's open support for Iranian protesters, the suspicion is higher than ever. So is Prime Minister Netanyahu pushing toward a wider conflict to shore up his own political survival? Well, who knows? But on ground in Iran, the human cost is becoming ever more horrific. Activist groups say that at least 544 people have been killed so far, with fears that the true number may be far higher. As per reports, more than 10,600 people have been detained so far. Iranian news agency Tasnim reports that 114 officials across security agencies have been killed since the protests erupted on the 28th of December last year. This figure is the total death toll from across provinces till Sunday, that is the 11th of January. The official number could be higher. The highest death count is reportedly from Isfahan province, where 30 IRGC officials have been killed in the clashes so far. Authorities say this is the highest number of officials killed in any movement or unrest so far. The US-based Center for Human Rights in Iran and other watchdogs say that hundreds of protesters may have died during the internet blackout alone. It describes the situation as an ongoing massacre. Bodies wrapped in black bags piled outside a morgue were seen in Tehran, with grieving families searching for their dead. The capital city is nearing paralysis. Shops shuttered, prices of meat nearly doubling, and streets falling silent by evening as security forces flood the city. As Iran declares national mourning for the dead security personnel and calls for pro-regime marches, the standoff is hardening. With Trump hinting at a possible D-Day, Iran threatening Israel, and America targets and blood continuing to flow on Iran's streets, West Asia now stands at the brink, with diplomacy, regime change, and an all-out war colliding all at once. And turning our attention now to the African continent, where Sudan's leadership has announced a full return to the capital, Khartoum, marking a major political shift after 3 years of war forced the government to operate from the Red Sea city of Port Sudan. Prime Minister Kamil Idris confirmed that state institutions will soon resume work in the capital, which the government abandoned in 2023 when intense fighting broke out between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces. As armed clashes spread rapidly across Khartoum, rival forces seized key districts, making governance from the city impossible. Following the army's recapture of Khartoum in March last year, officials began a phased relocation. The Prime Minister now says that the transition has ended, with the government officially reinstated in the capital. Idris described the move as the beginning of a recovery phase. He said authorities would prioritize reopening hospitals, restoring schools and repairing power grids, water networks and sanitation systems damaged by prolonged conflict. For nearly 2 years, remember, the greater Khartoum area functioned practically as an active war zone. Heavy shelling, street battles and sieges shattered residential areas and forced mass displacement. Millions escaped as violence engulfed the city. The United Nations reports that more than 1 million residents returned to Khartoum over recent months. Many encountered a city hollowed out by war, with ruined homes, unreliable services, and neighborhoods where mass burials were reportedly carried out during the fighting. Officials believe the death toll in the capital alone reaches into tens of thousands, though the absence of formal records makes precise figures impossible. The UN estimates that rebuilding Khartoum's essential infrastructure will require at least $350 million. The government has already convened limited cabinet sessions in the capital and begun early reconstruction projects. But despite a reduction in large-scale fighting, insecurity persists, with rapid support forces launching periodic drone attacks, often aimed at critical facilities. The government forces also continue to focus on the vital city of Darfur, currently under the control of the RSF. A joint military operation is currently underway in Darfur, and as per Sudanese army, the RSF forces have already withdrawn from the border areas. The Sudanese Prime Minister, remember, has also declared 2026 a year of peace for Sudan. The conflict, which marked 1,000 days last Friday, has claimed at least 150,000 lives nationwide and displaced nearly 12 million people. The United Nations continues to classify Sudan's crisis as the most severe humanitarian emergency in the world. As per the UN, 50% of Sudan's population is in need of humanitarian assistance, with the country facing acute shortages of food, water, medicine, and fuel. All right, with that, we're coming to the end of this edition of Gravitas. But before that, let's tell you how in Pakistan's Karachi, 75 Hindu couples from across Pakistan got married in a mass wedding organized by the Pakistan Hindu Council. This event, which is held annually since 2008, supports low-income families by helping with wedding expenses and ensuring the couples can celebrate their big day. Take a look at those visuals. Thank you for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.